regime. But now if we really compare with the old tax regime as well, because several people have questions whether they should really shift to the new tax regime, which one should they really choose? Sonu Iyer, if I can come to you on that, can you explain to us with examples how people should really choose between the old tax regime and the new tax regime in simple words? If you could also take us through the deductions under the new tax, under the old tax regime and the new tax regimes, how do they compare, and for which category of people would you recommend the new tax regime, and for which people would you recommend the old tax regime? How do people really choose in simple terms?
So it isn't a simple, straightforward answer. So the point is that new concessional tax regime or the new tax regime and the change proposed by the finance minister to make it more attractive has to be seen in the light that it is the directional tax slab that we are all headed towards. And we are making the change towards that. Therefore, the change is confusing and a little painful. But to answer your question, when you look at someone who's earning, say, a salary income of 7,50,000, total taxable income of 7 lakh rupees, and if they are salary earners, they're 7,50,000. For them, it's a no-brainer. You can move straight away to the concessional tax regime or the new CTR, because at that level, you are not going to pay any tax at all, because the rebate has been enhanced from 5 lakhs to 7 lakhs.
Right.
Then you come to different categories of people. Really, it will depend on people whose total income is over 5 crores, who were paying tax at 42.744. As you pointed out, because of the reduction in surcharge to 25%, the effective tax rate is coming down to 39%. So that category of taxpayers can also move straight away. Then when you have people in between, you're really looking at people who have minimal deductions, maybe they're not taking as many deductions under the old tax regime. For them also, it will make a case to move to the new tax regime.
Right.
The others who are taking some tax regimes, it will be an evaluation of their individual circumstances. Because that break-even point, which everybody has been struggling between yesterday's budget announcements to today, to find out what is that magic number at which people should look to shift to the new concessional tax regime, is perhaps something that is dependent on each one's individual circumstances, the amount of deductions they are taking. Now, if you're someone who's taking the full benefit of ATC, where you have the investment in LIC, bank deposits, you have PPF, you have repayment of housing loan, you pay NPS contributions where you get another additional 50,000. You are paying a house rent allowance, and you have a certain amount of deductions which are, say, going over 4,25,000. Then you are definitely in that borderline area where you may want to evaluate whether you want to continue to be in the existing tax regime. Right. But really depends on the quantum of deductions that you've been claiming under the existing tax regime and versus the new tax regime, where your deductions would be limited. You won't get any deductions, because standard deduction between the existing tax regime and the new concessional tax regime is the same. So then you are neutral to that. All other deductions is what will make the difference in decision, whether you want to stay on or you want to move. But the important point for all of us to remember is that the new concessional tax regime is the default tax regime, as the finance minister pointed out.
Right.
So now the employer will have to withhold tax, assuming that this is the tax slab that is applicable, no deduction, unless the employee exercises an option and tells the employer that I would like to continue under the existing tax regime.